Hello all, this is Halloween, and if you love cemeteries and learning about the history of cemeteries, you may want to subscribe because I'm going to be taking you somewhere new every week. In today's video, I will be taking you to Hudson, Florida, and we will be visiting the historic Pioneer Hudson Cemetery. Enjoy! I just got my hair done. It looks kind of funny right now. I'm standing here in Hudson, Florida at the Hudson Cemetery. It says no loitering, but I'm not really loitering. I'm here to visit the departed buried here and hopefully find out some things about the cemetery. This cemetery was established sometime in the 1800s, with the earliest burial being 1878. Let's go in and see what we can see. This is a small cemetery and there's not any parking or anything. So I parked at the ABC liquor store right here next door. And I'm just gonna take a quick little look-see in here. Now, I looked into it online, into the cemetery itself. It is a historic cemetery, but for a long time it was in a state of disrepair because transients and homeless people would kind of hang out here and they'd leave their garbage behind. This is when they tend to start putting up signs, no trespassing, no loitering, and things of that nature, because they come in here and they cause damage to the cemetery. As you can see, there's a bag of garbage right here. But they put that up there to basically scare people off, hopefully, and that they won't come in and do that. Because, I mean, when you're homeless, I mean, the cemetery is a pretty safe place to be and hang out, and I think that's why they choose to hang out in cemeteries. It's better than under a bridge where you're in danger of being hit by a car or something. I'm not saying that it's right. It's definitely not right. But when you're homeless, you kind of, you know, you're between a rock and a hard place and you got to figure something out. So a lot of them will stay in cemeteries, and sometimes they're doing not so awesome things, like maybe doing drugs or drinking, and they're leaving a lot of garbage behind. So that tends to be the reason these signs are put up more often than not. It's not because it's just the dead want peace and to be left alone. It's because people are coming in and they're doing egregious things to the cemetery, and it's causing damage to the cemetery. I took a photograph of their veteran monument here, honoring all who served in the armed forces. Beautiful little monument. Now, evidently for quite some time the cemetery was in really bad shape because of the transients and homeless that would come in. They'd leave their garbage behind. It was just, you know, I think overgrown and just, like I said, in a state of disrepair. But over the past few years, people have organized efforts to come and clean up the cemetery, and I'd say they've done a pretty good job because it looks pretty good today. We have some babies here, 1935 and 1936. Hilda Joan Harrell and Betty Frances Green. These cars are just so loud. It's really annoying. Lou McDougal, or McDougal? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a mother named Lou. I've never heard of that name for a woman. As you can see, it's just a small little cemetery. Half of it is just wide open space. I'm not sure if they're still burying here, but that's very possible. They have a lot of open space over there. Looks like there's some new headstones over here right by the road. The Little family. Oh wow. These are new headstones, but they're not new burials. George W. born May 1st, 1840 and passed in 1935. So this family, I think, bought new headstones for their loved ones that were at rest here. Their headstones were probably in pretty poor shape after so long, and they bought new headstones. So that's really cool. Here's a lot of old headstones. I bet that one right there is Melissa Hudson. But all of the script is worn off. Oh, here we go. I still can't read it. You can see a little bit. I don't know. I can't read it at all. I'm going to take a picture to see if we can see it better if I take a picture. Here's a Voorhees for all you horror fans out there. Jason and Voorhees. I didn't know that was a real last name, but evidently it is, and there's a Voorhees buried here. As well as some brunettes. Of course, the Hudson family, Little, Littell. Quite a few family plots that I've seen here. There are a lot of Knowles, like Beyonce Knowles. That's the only Knowles I know, so I was just saying that. I'm not really a fan, but don't come for me. It's just not my style. I'm a grunge rocker and an emo fan, so I just wanted to come over here and see this plot here. This is a veteran from World War II. But it's just a really neat looking plot. I like the way they've bricked it in. Looks very nice. Past June 10th, 1945. Pretty much the whole cemetery. I'm going to look at a few of these old headstones up here, and then I've got to head home in rush hour traffic. I had a hair appointment out here in Palm Harbor today, so I figured why not go a little further, about 35 minutes further, and see this cemetery, because we don't really get out over this way very much. So, and I was already halfway here, so I went ahead and wanted to check it out. Look, we got a Tom Brady right here. Thomas W. Brady. July 24th, 1864 to August 19th, 1923. Oh, there's more Bradys. So there's a whole Brady plot here. And I'm assuming that this historic cemetery going so far back, these are a lot of the original settlers of the Hudson area, or Hudson's Landing area, back in the day is what it was called. So that's always kind of cool. It's Pioneer Cemetery. This is another cemetery that really not much is mentioned about it. Some of them just kind of don't have a lot of information online. So, well, I'm headed out of the cemetery. If I had to guess, there's only a couple hundred burials in here. It's just really not a lot. So it's a quick one to visit if you live near here or if you're in the Hudson area. Not a whole lot to see per se, but still kind of neat to go around and look at the old headstones and see who some of the pioneers were of this area. Some of the names that I saw, Knowles, and I saw a lot of Knowles all over the cemetery. Of course, the Hudson family is buried here. Some of them. I'm sure they're not all buried here because I didn't actually see a lot of Hudsons. And I didn't find Melissa Hudson unless it was on one of the headstones that was illegible, which is very, very possible considering she was the first burial here in 1878. But you can see it's quite behind me now. There's all this open land right here, and they may still be burying here. I didn't see really anything new, nothing even to 2000, so I don't know, it could be closed off and not having any more burials anymore. I gotta squeeze out. But it's a pretty cemetery, and I'm really glad they got a maintenance crew out here now coming out regularly and cleaning up the cemetery because it looks nice. Anyway, that does it for this one. I'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I hope you loved today's episode. It was a short one, kind of, but it was a small cemetery, and it's kind of in an unfortunate location, surrounded by noise and traffic. It's literally on like a street that goes like this. It's on a point. So you got a liquor store, and 2 major roads right next to it, and it's just really loud. And I know that the Hudson Landing area back in the 1800s was not developed as it is today. So I'm sure that initially when they started burial in that cemetery, that it was probably very quiet, very rural, and not a lot of noise, a beautiful place and a beautiful setting for a cemetery, but not so much today. And they do have a no loitering sign, but I was there to film a video and to pay respects to the departed, talk about the history if I could learn anything at all about it. And unfortunately, this was one of those cemeteries where there just wasn't a lot of information online. I think a lot of cemeteries are like that, especially if there's not any, I don't want to say that the departed there, buried there, are not significant. They are very significant to the Hudson Landing area. But if there's not somebody like big and notorious there, a lot of times these cemeteries will kind of go unrecognized over the years and just not have a lot of information online. But I tried. There was a historic sign there that I did photograph and gave you enough time to read it there. I actually had read it aloud at the cemetery and thought I was filming, and evidently I wasn't. So you'll learn a little history there about the cemetery. I got a little heat, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this in another video about going into a no trespassing cemetery. Listen, a lot of these cemeteries are very poorly maintained. No one's been there obviously in years. They keep the no trespassing signs out to deter people that are going in there, leaving garbage, dumping. A lot of times cemeteries are used as a dumping grounds. People that just have trash will just dump in the cemetery. Homeless people will go and make homes there, drink beers, leave their beer cans behind, garbage, debris, all kinds of things. And the no trespassing is really to deter that kind of activity, as well as young folks, young teenagers usually going in and trying to summon spirits and just do things that are a more negative tone. Those who have loved ones buried there do not want that kind of activity, so they'll put out the no trespassing to keep those types of people hopefully away. Sometimes they'll post that there's surveillance, and most of the time there isn't. It's just a deterrent. It's the same essence as when you put out a sign in your front yard, beware of dog. You're trying to deter anything negative from happening. Some people that put those signs out don't even have dogs. They're just putting it out there to scare people. So it's the same thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's exactly what it is. But I just wanted to say that. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're approaching Christmas now, and since my mom passed, it's not been quite the same Christmas holiday. My sister passed a little over a year ago, and just things aren't quite the same anymore. Hopefully that will get better over time. But I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, and that does it for today's episode. I'll see you next time.